Welcome to my channel Starwire Daily. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. Picture this: a quiet elementary school classroom. Empty desks, silence, and somewhere in the shadows, a mystery that captivated an entire generation of children is about to come roaring back to life. But this time, it's not just about a missing teacher. It's about Hollywood magic, unexpected casting choices, and one woman who's about to prove that comedy royalty can transform into something entirely unexpected. The whispers started circulating through Hollywood's inner circles just weeks ago, and today we're diving deep into what might be the most surprising casting announcement of the year. Melissa McCarthy, the queen of physical comedy, the woman who made us fall in love with her scene-stealing performances from Bridesmaids to Can You Ever Forgive Me, is stepping into a world that's both nostalgic and completely uncharted territory. Miss Nelson is missing. 3 words that instantly transport millions of us back to elementary school story time. Sitting cross-legged on scratchy carpet, hanging on to every word as our teachers read about the mysterious disappearance of the sweetest teacher in room 207. But what happens when you take that beloved children's story and hand it over to one of Hollywood's most versatile actresses? Let me paint you the full picture, because this isn't just another adaptation announcement. This is a masterclass in how Hollywood is reimagining childhood classics for a new generation. And Melissa McCarthy is at the center of it all. The original story, for those who might need a refresher, follows the students of room 207 who take their kind, gentle teacher Miss Nelson completely for granted. They're rowdy, disrespectful, and frankly little terrors. But when Miss Nelson mysteriously vanishes, she's replaced by the terrifying Miss Viola Swamp, a strict disciplinarian who whips the classroom into shape with an iron fist. The children desperately search for their beloved teacher, not realizing that Miss Nelson and the dreaded substitute might be more connected than they ever imagined. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. When you think of Melissa McCarthy, your mind probably jumps to her breakout role in Mike and Molly. Or maybe you remember her show-stopping performance as Megan in Bridesmaids. You know, the one where she stole every single scene she was in and launched herself into comedy stardom. But this casting choice, it's revealing layers of McCarthy that we've only glimpsed in her more dramatic work. See, what most people don't realize is that McCarthy's range extends far beyond the broad physical comedy that made her famous. Remember her quietly devastating performance in Can You Ever Forgive Me? She completely disappeared into the role of Lee Israel, the bitter, lonely writer who forged literary letters to make ends meet. The Academy noticed, giving her an Oscar nomination for Best Actress. That performance showed us a Melissa McCarthy who could embody vulnerability, desperation, and complexity in ways that surprised even her biggest fans. And that's exactly the kind of depth that Miss Nelson is missing requires. Because beneath the surface of this children's story lies something much more profound. A tale about the masks we wear, the personas we create, and the lengths we'll go to in order to be seen and appreciated. Think about it. Miss Nelson isn't really missing. She's hiding in plain sight, transformed into her own worst nightmare to teach her students a lesson about respect and kindness. It's a story about identity, about the different versions of ourselves we present to the world, and about the sometimes painful process of being truly understood. McCarthy understands transformation in a way that few actresses do. Throughout her career, she's constantly shifted between personas. The lovable every woman, the fierce action hero in Spy, the vulnerable artist in Can You Ever Forgive Me, the outrageous scene stealer in countless comedies. She knows how to disappear into a character while still bringing her own unique energy to every role. But let's talk about what's really exciting here: the dual role possibility. While official details are still under wraps, industry insiders are buzzing about the potential for McCarthy to pull double duty, playing both the sweet Miss Nelson and the terrifying Miss Viola Swamp. Imagine the technical wizardry, the costume transformations, the sheer acting gymnastics required to make audiences believe these are 2 completely different people. This isn't McCarthy's first dance with character transformation, though. In The Boss, she played multiple versions of her character Michelle Darnell, the ruthless businesswoman, the fallen mogul, the reformed mentor. She's shown time and again that she can embody completely different energies within the same project. The timing of this announcement is particularly intriguing. We're living in an era where children's entertainment is being elevated in unprecedented ways. Look at the success of films like Paddington, which took a beloved character and created something that spoke to both children and adults on profound emotional levels. Or consider how the Super Mario Bros. Movie managed to honor its source material while creating something entirely new and commercially successful. Miss Nelson is Missing has the potential to join this elite group of adaptations that transcend their original medium. The story has built-in themes that resonate with today's audiences. The importance of respect, the complexity of authority figures, and the idea that sometimes people aren't quite who they seem to be. McCarthy's involvement also signals something important about Hollywood's approach to family entertainment. Rather than simply casting someone who looks the part, the producers are clearly prioritizing acting ability and emotional depth. They want someone who can make both children and adults believe in the reality of this transformation. Someone who can handle both the light comedic moments and the more dramatic emotional beats. Behind the scenes, this project is being developed by a team that clearly understands the weight of adapting such a beloved property. While we're still waiting for official announcements about the director and supporting cast, sources close to the production hint at an approach that honors the original while expanding the world in meaningful ways. The script reportedly delves deeper into Miss Nelson's life outside the classroom. We might get glimpses of why she chooses to stay in teaching despite her students' behavior, what drives her to create the Miss Viola Swan persona, and how she navigates the emotional complexity of caring for children who seem to take her for granted. This expansion makes perfect sense when you consider McCarthy's strengths as a performer. She excels at finding the humanity in every character, no matter how broad or comedic the role might initially seem. Even in her most over-the-top performances, there's always something real and recognizable at the core. The technical aspects of this production are likely to be fascinating as well. Creating believable transformations between Miss Nelson and Miss Viola Swamp will require incredible work from the makeup, costume, and potentially even visual effects departments. We're talking about making one actress convincingly portray two characters who need to feel like completely different people. McCarthy has always been game for physical transformation. She's never shied away from elaborate costumes, intensive makeup, or demanding physical comedy. But this project will likely push those boundaries even further, requiring her to essentially create two distinct physical personas. The educational angle of this story also can't be ignored. Miss Nelson is Missing has been a classroom staple for decades, introducing children to concepts about empathy, respect, and understanding different perspectives. A well-executed film adaptation could introduce these themes to a new generation while providing parents and educators with a valuable discussion tool. But perhaps what's most exciting about this casting choice is what it represents for McCarthy's career trajectory. She's consistently challenged expectations and surprised audiences throughout her journey in Hollywood. From her early days doing improv comedy to becoming one of the most bankable stars in the industry, she's never taken the predictable path. This role offers her the chance to showcase every tool in her considerable arsenal: physical comedy, emotional depth, character work, and the kind of transformative acting that defines truly great performers. It's the kind of project that could easily become a defining moment in her career. The ripple effects of this casting choice are already being felt throughout the industry. Other beloved children's book properties are suddenly back in development, with producers clearly taking note of how a respected dramatic actress can bring new life to familiar material. We might be witnessing the beginning of a new trend in family entertainment. From a business perspective, McCarthy's involvement virtually guarantees audience interest. She brings her own substantial fan base, but she's also the kind of performer who can attract viewers who might not otherwise be interested in a children's book adaptation. Parents who grew up with the original story will be curious to see how she handles the material, while her comedy fans will want to see her tackle something completely different. The production timeline suggests we might see this film hitting theaters within the next 2 years, though the complexity of the dual role and the technical demands of the transformation sequences could extend that timeline. What we do know is that pre-production is moving forward aggressively, with location scouting already underway for the perfect elementary school setting. Industry insiders suggest that the film will blend practical and digital effects to achieve the transformation sequences, similar to the approach used in films like The Nutty Professor or more recently, The Irishman. The goal is to make the changes feel magical rather than simply technical, maintaining the storybook quality that made the original so enchanting. The supporting cast will be crucial to this film's success, particularly the child actors who will play Miss Nelson's students. Casting directors are reportedly looking for young performers who can handle both the comedic chaos of the early classroom scenes and the more genuine emotional moments when they realize they've taken their teacher for granted. There's also speculation about whether the film will expand beyond the classroom setting, possibly showing us Miss Nelson's home life or her interactions with other teachers and administrators. These additions could provide valuable context for her character while giving McCarthy additional material to work with. The costume design alone is likely to become a talking point. Miss Nelson's sweet, gentle appearance needs to contrast dramatically with Miss Viola Swamp's intimidating presence, but both looks need to feel authentic to the characters and the story world. The transformation between these two personas could easily become one of the film's most memorable elements. What's particularly smart about this project is how it allows McCarthy to work within a familiar framework while still surprising audiences. Everyone knows the basic story of Miss Nelson is missing, but seeing it through McCarthy's interpretation promises to reveal new layers and meanings that might not have been apparent in the original text. The emotional core of the story, a teacher who cares so much about her students that she's willing to become the villain in order to help them grow, is perfectly suited to McCarthy's strengths. She's always been particularly effective at playing characters who use humor and misdirection to mask deeper emotions and motivations. As we look ahead to this adaptation, it's clear that McCarthy isn't just taking on another role. She's stepping into a piece of American childhood that holds deep meaning for millions of people. The responsibility to honor that legacy while creating something fresh and relevant for today's audiences is enormous. But if anyone can handle that pressure, it's Melissa McCarthy. She spent her career defying expectations and proving that there's no limit to what she can accomplish as a performer. From comedy clubs to Oscar nominations, from television success to blockbuster films, she's consistently shown that she's willing to take risks and push herself into new territory. Miss Nelson is Missing represents the perfect intersection of McCarthy's talents and a story that desperately needs her unique perspective. It's the kind of project that could easily become a modern classic, introducing a new generation to these beloved characters while reminding adults of the complex emotions and relationships that shape our earliest experiences with authority and respect. The buzz surrounding this announcement shows no signs of slowing down. And honestly, can you blame Hollywood for being excited? We're potentially looking at a film that could appeal to children, parents, educators, and McCarthy fans all at once. That's the kind of broad appeal that studios dream about. So there you have it. Melissa McCarthy is about to take us back to elementary school in the most unexpected and exciting way possible. She's bringing her considerable talents to a story that shaped countless childhoods. And if her track record is any indication, she's going to find ways to surprise and delight us that we haven't even imagined yet. What do you think about this casting choice? Are you as excited as we are to see McCarthy tackle this beloved character? And more importantly, do you think she'll be able to make both Miss Nelson and Miss Viola Swamp feel like completely different people? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing your predictions and theories about upcoming projects like this. And if you enjoyed diving deep into this casting news with us, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes Hollywood insights. We're always here to break down the stories that matter in entertainment. And with your support, we can keep bringing you the kind of in-depth coverage that goes way beyond the headlines. Trust us, you won't want to miss what we're covering next.